Alright, so I'm gonna do my best to string together a half-competent summary of what this show is, but this is about my 5th time, so let's just see what comes forward, as I don't even know myself. Magus Bride is a show that going in I zealously defended as a new gold standard of anime, a position I rightfully held as it thrashingly asphyxiated itself on the narrative gallows. That is way too dark. It's a show that, given the full-length episode teasers, exhumed a brilliance in design, narrative, visage, and tone I had long thought dead in the animating communities of Japan. And while I will maintain that this white knight-like demeanor I held was justified, I do concede that punching that kid in the throat was a little rash. So, the story begins with a framework far too similar to that of the Potter series. Ostracized child is gifted/cursed with a nature that naturally attracts the mystic and unseen in ways that leaves them with the scorn of their fellow family members and really everyone around them. But it's from here it splits into a far more realized structure. Unlike Potter, who has also dealt with a slovenly and vile extended family, Chisei, our redheaded MC, is instead straddled with the knowledge and guilt of how her presence ruins the lives of those around her. And it's from this she develops a penumbra-like existence for the sake of really more for self-preservation, having been assaulted and orphaned because she's a victim of circumstance, really. It's from this state of frustration that she comes to the verdict that she's better off just casting her life away into a dice game fashioned in the form of an auction, with the intent of furthering herself from the effects her presence facilitates. Which is where our second but equally important MC Elias comes in, being the final bidder on this fate that Chisei had thrown to the crows. Elias, aside from being a 7-foot fleshless dandy of pure nightmares, is also a creature split between the world of Fae and human, being self-described as a creation of both mythos and common corporeal. He exists in a similar state, yet unlike the love adorning Chisei's Fae interactions, he instead is treated with a slight degree of scorn, not disreverence. And this similar dichotomy is what sparks the connection between them that further develops over the course of the story. And going in, this is what I loved about the show. It was visceral and a thoughtful take on the nature of self, of love, family, and even fate itself, which was delivered unhinged for the first 12, but it's at this point where the organized framework dissipates and the need for the next chapter bedims the astute narrative. I mean, look, up till this point, the tale had been a relaxed exploration of the creatures and the backdrop surrounding them, and the environment, and everything really going on in the world, but with these brief divots in their perspective and their reactions to the ever-moving visions around them. The world was a satisfying take on the classical European folklore, with a bit of foreign influence that just blustered with reverence for the tales. Augmented at first with the stellar visuals on the manga, and then again by some of the most impressive craftsmen over at Wit Studio. The story centered around a hesitant soul who, having lost all her confidence, now wished to spend the little time she knew she had helping those who she could. Her believable motivation being the cause of her interactions with other characters, and often the impetus behind her self-destructive behavior, leaving Elias, the passive guide and new family member, to pick up the pieces of Chisei's self-sacrifice, allowing for tangible growth in both of them as the story unravels, actively developing them in ways which works towards both of their betterment. There was a strong theme of family and understanding someone who sits in another chair from you, but it gets a bit dashed by the story's need to interject action, which I at first thought was a clear deviation from the author's intended route, but upon review it faithfully adapts the volumes I have access to, at least. And I believe it's here where the reports and noticeable split really becomes apparent. This division between adornment or aversion that characterizes the reviews I've bothered to peruse. There's a level of denial in the most zealot stalwart, and a tinge of bitterness in the dismissive, but I do think that I stand on a firm, kind of more even ground where I both love and consider myself a critic of the show. I believe it's overall a worthwhile watch, of course, but I do believe it's a bit distant from being fully realized as a whole.